Hello and welcome to Host Planet Bitesize, the podcast brought to you by Host Planet and Hostfully. My name's James Varley, the founder of Host Planet, and our goal is to share everything you need to know about buying and managing short-term rentals. Today's guest is Siana Vesselinova from PriceLabs, and she'll be discussing the UK STR market, including how hosts can get their pricing right this autumn and winter. Okay, real talk now for all you hosts out there. You know that moment when your guest messages you again with, "Hey, what's the Wi-Fi code?" Or you're staring at 5 different calendars, wondering if you've accidentally double booked the cottage. Yes, we've all been there. That's why here at Host Planet, we recommend Hostfully. It's basically your rentals control center. It handles bookings across all the big platforms, syncs your calendars to ensure there are no double bookings, automates guest messages, and even creates these really slick digital guidebooks that stop all the repeat questions. Honestly, it just makes your life easier and keeps your guests happier, helping you achieve those all-important 5-star reviews. And here is a little bonus. If you're a Host Planet listener, you can get $500 off onboarding for Hostfully's property management software and 30% off digital guidebooks for life. Just hit the link in the show notes and use the codes PLANET500 for the PMS and Host Planet GB for the guidebooks. And if you'd like a proper walkthrough, there's also a link to book a demo with Frank Bosey from Hostfully. He will show you how it all works. Less stress, more bookings, sorted with Hostfully. Siana, thank you for joining us on Host Planet Bitesize. When we look back at summer, what stood out most to you? Were there any pricing trends that really caught your attention?
Great question. And by the way, thank you so much for having me, James. First of all, to start off with. So great question to start off with. I think a lot of people are comparing summer to what's happening in autumn now. So one thing that caught our eye, I think, this summer was how the market kind of shifted. So we did see quite strong growth in supply early on, and we're talking May, June, July. Plenty of new listings came online around this time. And then suddenly in August, the demand kind of shifted and it kind of cooled off a little bit. And it seemed like some hosts probably pulled back. So compared to the year before that and what we saw in terms of demand, that was definitely a little bit lighter. Pacing was a little bit slower. I think that most hosts expected. So it kind of just goes to show how important it is to keep an eye on that real-time data, market shifts, and essentially to adjust your strategy as the season evolves, or most importantly, as the season changes as well.
Where are things looking in terms of pricing, the rates that people are achieving, and also the booking window? Because I think one thing that a lot of hosts in the UK in particular have experienced over the last few years, myself included, is that the booking window has just got shorter and shorter, to the point that today I had 2 bookings, and I think one was for a check-in today and the other was for a check-in tomorrow.
Well, I think you're experiencing this pretty much the same thing that most people in the UK are experiencing. And actually, UK is not alone in this. I think we're seeing this trend quite a lot, at least in Europe. UK and Europe are kind of the markets that I would look after. So we've seen this trend. But this summer in particular showed that guest behavior does consistently keep shifting. So yes, booking windows have gotten shorter. I'll give you an example. So if we're looking at the UK in general, for June, this year, the booking window was 30 days on average. Last year, it was 34. So that's quite a big shift. Essentially, what this means is that people are waiting longer to make their travel plans. You also mentioned, where do the rates stand in relation to this? Very interestingly, average daily rates were actually higher. So this means that people who are traveling, they're still looking to spend. They're just booking a little bit later. So big takeaway here is to actually stay flexible, and to use this market data that we have, or these dynamic pricing tools, to help capture those last minute bookings when the demand actually does come through.
Yeah, staying flexible is so important, but how important is it not to tank your rates too much, especially if you are expecting to get those last minute bookings?
Very important. This is why you should, don't panic. If you're seeing a shorter booking window, if you're seeing that occupancy actually is coming in just a little bit more last minute, important thing is to not panic. Don't slash your rates because you're not getting the bookings at the time that you were receiving them last year. So we've seen that ADR has been steady and actually growing. So make sure that you're in line with how the market is shifting. Don't panic and, try to hold your rates just gradually, as you're getting into that booking window, very slowly and gradually start to change the rates because we know that the less time you have to get booked, the more flexible you should be.
And it's interesting you mentioned before as well with rates that you're seeing that they've gone up slightly. Now, I was involved in a webinar with PriceLabs recently, and I said that I think this is out of necessity, really, because hosts and property managers, our costs have gone up and up, and we've had to put the rates up in response to that. As we we're into autumn then, as we head into winter, are we seeing something similar compared to summer, or are there any other trends that people need to be aware of as we get closer to Christmas and New Year?
I have a mixed answer here. So as we're we're not even moving, right? We're in autumn already. So the demand in general, of course, it really depends where you are, but overall the demand in general is looking softer again than it was last year. Occupancy, the last time I checked, was pacing around a couple of percent below what it was the same time last year. So we're just slightly behind. But again, the good news for hosts is that rates are actually holding steady. So ADR is holding steady. So prices are stable, essentially. Again, people are booking later, which means that probably a lot of the action that you're going to see in your calendars will be maybe from more last minute conversions.
Definitely used to that. So for the hosts and property managers listening, then, what are the one or two maybe quick moves that they can make now to capture bookings, even as demand is a little bit slower?
Yeah, there are a lot of things that we can look at, but a couple of them very important to focus on demand pockets. So my job in particular is to help people set up their account and to teach them how to use PriceLabs in particular. One thing that I like to say is, because I noticed that a lot of hosts focus a lot on this is the peak season, this is the low season, and there's nothing in between. Actually, focus on, let's say, demand pockets, right? So you have, even in your low season, you'll have peak demand dates. These are weekends. These are dates with local events. October half term for some schools has already kicked in. Others I think it's about to kick in. So you can loosen your restrictions like minimum stays around those dates. Make sure that the listing highlights its proximity to certain attractions or maybe some events that are happening around there that will also attract a lot of attention. Also, I think that because we're seeing these shorter booking windows happen, just make sure that you keep your calendars open. Stay flexible with those minimum stays, as we said, and do use dynamic pricing to respond quickly when you see these last minute guests start booking in, because that's, they're starting to search later. So they must be able to see everything that you have to offer. Again, very important, because the demand is coming in later, don't panic and try to hold your ADR. Because that booking window will essentially mean that you should slowly start adjusting your rates as the booking window is closing down.
We talk about flexibility, and of course it's really important. Let's get specific then. To be flexible, what exactly does that mean? And I'm thinking particularly here in relation to always having your calendar open, and also the minimum stays. I mean, if you could kind of advise every host and property manager out there, I mean, should their minimum stay be as low as possible?
It depends when we're looking at. So it's very important to follow the way that the market is also moving. If people in my area are only coming in for 2-day stays, and that's a very popular kind of trend in my area, and I have my minimum stay set at 5, 6, or 7 nights, and I'm the only one who does that, and most people are looking for 2-night stays, then they won't even get a chance to see what I have to offer. So, generally when we talk about short-term rentals, we kind of expect that travelers who know what they're doing and they're planning ahead, will probably book a longer stay. So we could afford to keep our stays a little bit longer far out. But as the booking window draws in, then yes, we should be able to accommodate and be as flexible as we can be, essentially, to accommodate these bookings.
Are you seeing any shifts in how people are using short-term rentals? For example, longer stays and workations. And this is something, people are blending travel and work now. If they're not set in one place, they're thinking, do you know what? I'm going to travel the world. I can work remotely and then I can go wherever I want and spend a couple of months, wherever they like.
Yeah, for sure. This is probably my favorite subject. I love the way that travel behavior is shifting. And I really love the way that people are blending vacations, or, I don't know, going to explore the world, as you say, with actually working. It's kind of that part where we're learning to live anywhere and work from anywhere, right? It's a new habit that's evolving. So longer stays and blended trips are also what's happening here. People are combining work with leisure. We're seeing that a lot of coastal and rural destinations, like you and I had a discussion, Cornwall is a hotspot, Devon, Cotswolds, Scottish Highlands, all of these places are benefiting from that trend, essentially, because people are looking for, I don't know, a slower way of life, more scenic escapes. And the UK travel market is actually remaining strong. And those hosts in particular, when we're talking about this, who do cater to longer stays or who accommodate remote workers and have the facilities in their, STRs to accommodate for them, then they can really tap into that demand, essentially.
Yeah, if you've got a desk and really super fast Wi-Fi, then showcase it in your listing, because you might open up to those leisure travelers. We talked a lot about reading the market then. So for anybody new here, just talk to us about PriceLabs. Why should they be taking a look at PriceLabs, and what can it do for them?
Sure. I mean, to describe it in very simple terms, PriceLabs is a dynamic pricing tool. It's a market data solution. Essentially, it's a complete revenue management solution. So for short-term rentals, but not only. So here we're talking mostly about short-term rentals. What we're doing is we're taking real-time data. We're looking at demand. We're looking at seasonality, local events, competitor prices. We're looking at how quickly is the market moving, how is it pacing, and we will take the heavy load off of you and we will update your rates automatically every single day. So you still get to set your overall strategy. You still get to set your guardrails. We talk about this quite a lot. What's my minimum price? What's my maximum price? What am I comfortable with? But essentially what PriceLabs does is it handles the day-to-day adjustments. So prices always reflect what's happening in the market. And this, I think the biggest takeaway for me and from the conversations I've had with hosts is that it takes away the guesswork and it gives hosts more confidence that they're priced right every day, because how do you know if you're priced right or not, right? So this is quite a powerful tool to help you do that.
It certainly is, yeah. And I remember when I started out, I didn't use dynamic pricing. And after I started using dynamic pricing, I realized how much money I'd been leaving on the table, because you just don't know how much demand there is at times. And it could be demand over a big local event, or it might just be even a wedding in the next village where suddenly you've got a lot of people who need accommodation.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to know about everything. So using a tool like PriceLabs is going to help. So tell us then, just explain how PriceLabs sets a price. What's actually happening behind the scenes, and how often do you tweak the prices? Is it every day? Is it every hour? How does it work?
Sure. So there's by default the automated kind of tweak is happening once every 24 hours. very important thing is when I say that you're in control of your strategy, you have to place yourself in the market. So that's essentially, for those of you who are using a dynamic pricing tool, you know that you have to enter a base price. We will use that base price. It is like the center of everything. And we will apply market trends to it. So we'll look at every single listing has its own comp set. So we look at the location, we look at the size of the property, we look at the comp set around it to see what's happening. And we're looking after all of these things like occupancy, local events, how are the prices moving? And we will fluctuate the prices up and down. So there's market factors like seasonality and demand factor applying, but there's also different automated customizations happening based on lead time, based on your internal occupancy performance. So it's very important to know exactly what's kicking in and to allow, I think sometimes less is more. There are a lot of things that are automated and they're market driven. So they're still looking at how the market is moving. Very important thing I just wanted to point out, dynamic minimum stay settings are something that we have recently introduced. So this is, you asked me, do I have to be at my lowest minimum stay restriction? Well, it depends on how the market's moving. If there's a demand for longer stays, we have something new introduced, dynamic minimum stay settings. They will automatically adjust based on demand and lead time. So essentially you can capture these last minute bookings, obviously still protecting revenue. But what this is doing is it's balancing automation, with using hyperlocal insights to make sure that you're using the correct minimum stay restriction in comparison to how the market's moving, in relation to how the market's moving.
And in terms of operators really knowing their numbers, how important is that in relation to setting the base price and the minimum price? Because you want to make sure, understanding what your occupancy is, that you're making a profit at the end of the day. You don't want to be setting a price where even if you get 80% occupancy, you don't end up making a decent enough profit.
Very important. You have to be aware of your financials. You have to be aware of your operations, and you have to be aware of what a property like yours goes for in the market. So this is why the most important thing is to set a base price. This is why you should always be aware of what your minimum price is and use reporting tools to make sure that you are actually making a profit. So having 100% occupancy doesn't always mean that you are profiting from this. It might also mean that you're actually losing money, because if you only have one night stays and for every single turnover you have to pay cleaning fees, maintenance fees as well, bills are coming in, then, once you take all of that away, what is it that you're taking home at the end of the day?
Yeah, 100% occupancy probably means you're too cheap. So you need to be looking clearly at the market and looking at PriceLabs to help you. Okay then, Siana, fantastic. That's really great. Some fantastic tips there and a great overview of the UK market. Just before you go, I'm really looking forward to the Host Planet Roadshow. Of course, PriceLabs is the title sponsor and we'll be kicking off in Cornwall on the 5th of February. So how much are you looking forward to it?
I am really looking forward to it. I absolutely love Cornwall, as I'm sure a lot of people watching or listening to this are. So really looking forward to seeing everyone there and enjoying Cornwall as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be great. There'll be lots of education for short-term rental hosts and property managers, lots of networking, and you get to meet Siana there, the PriceLabs team, and a lot of other brands who will be announcing soon as well. Final thing then, Siana, just tell us where people need to go if they want to find out more about PriceLabs.
Sure. Very simple. It's hello.pricelabs.co. You can go onto the website. All the information is on there. And if you want to do a free trial, you can just click on start your free trial now.
Superb. And we'll put all those links in the show notes. Siana, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks for joining us on Host Planet Bitesize.
Thank you. Lovely to see you, James. And thank you so much for having me.
Great to chat to Siana Vesselinova there from PriceLabs. I hope you found those tips useful. All right, that's it for today's episode. Remember, this podcast is brought to you in collaboration with Hostfully, which is trusted by short-term rental professionals across the globe. As a Host Planet listener, you get 2 exclusive offers: $500 off onboarding for Hostfully's property management software. Just use the code PLANET500, and 30% off digital guidebooks for life. Use the code HostPlanetGB. To grab these deals, click the link in the show notes or head to hostfully.com. For more free education, tips and trends from the STR industry, visit hostplanet.club, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcasts, and download a suite of ebooks for hosts and property managers. That's it for today's episode. Until next time, happy hosting.